Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Amma ba'du. Then we are in Kitab al-Buyu', the book of buying and selling or business transactions. And we have reached, with this, we will start Hadith number 255, meaning we only have 172 Hadith left in the book. So if you've made it with us until now, then we are over halfway with Kitab al-Hajj. In fact, the end of Ramadan was right, or the end of fasting, the book of fasting was right at the middle point. And now we've reached over that with 172 hadith left to go to complete this book. Walillahi alhamd. So this book, or this hadith, is dealing with the subject al-bay'an, the two people who are buying and selling, bil khiyar, have a choice. The two people have a choice, ma lam yatafarraqa, as long as they don't separate from one another. Meaning, as long as they're in each other's presence, then they have a choice. They could say, okay, I'll get 3 of them. And if they then decide before they leave each other's presence, they want to change their mind or they want to charge a different price, they have the right to do so. The first hadith, we have 2 hadith in this section. The first of them, al-khamis wa khamsun ba'da miyatain, an Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with both of them, an Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, annahu qal, that he said, إذا تبايع رجلان, either when or if, تبايع from بايعين, تبايع rajulan, if 2 men are buying and selling, they're trading with one another, trading money for goods, trading goods for goods, right? فَكُلُّ وَاحِدٍ, then every one, minhuma, from them two, then each one of them basically, bil khiyar, has a choice. Each one of them has a choice, meaning to continue with the transaction or to stop it. مَا لَمْ يَتَفَرَّقَا, as long as they do not separate. And this alif at the end here, yatafarraqa, shows 2 of them. They both separate. وَكَانَ جَمِيعًا, and they are together. As long as they didn't separate and they're together. وَكَانَ جَمِيعًا. أَوْ يُخَيِّرُ أَحَدُهُمَا الْآخَرَ. أَوْ يُخَيِّرُ, or أَحَدُهُمَا, one of them, يُخَيِّرُ, he gives the choice al-akhar, to the other. Meaning, the buyer and the seller can agree that you have a week or 2 weeks or a certain period to return the item. If he gives them that choice, that, okay, we're going to leave, we're going to separate now, but you still have the choice. And you could maybe do it to the buyer. Maybe the buyer sells the car and he says, look, I'll give you a week to change your mind about selling it. Either way, they can give a choice to the other one. أو يخير أحدهما الآخر, he gives the choice to the other one. فتبايعا على ذلك. So then, as long as they don't separate from one another, then the sale will become binding, basically. فتبايعا, that business transaction will take place على ذلك, meaning upon that condition, meaning either them separating or giving the other one a choice. فَقَدْ وَجَبَ الْبَيْعِ, then the sale is obligatory, is done. Once they separate, or once they give themselves this khiyar, then the sale is done. Wajib al-bay', the sale is done. الحديث السادس والخمسون بعد 200 and the 256th hadith وما في معناه, and what is in the same meaning, معناه, the meaning of the hadith above, its meaning, من hadith Hakim ibn Hizam, and what is in its meaning from the hadith of Hakim ibn Hizam radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, قال, he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, البيعان بالخيار, two people inside the buyer and the seller, the two people in the transaction have a choice. ما لم يتفرقا, as long as they do not separate. Or he said حتى يتفرقا, until they separate. فإن صدقا وبينا, and if they're truthful, صدقا وبينا, if they're both truthful and they're both bayyana, they both clarify, meaning if there's any defects or anything wrong with it, one person thinks he's buying something that does a certain thing because all the other ones that look like this do it, or many of them, and he sells it to him knowing that it doesn't do that. In sadaqa wa bayyana, if they're truthful and they clarify whatever defects or features it has, burika lahuma fi bay'ihima, they will be blessed in their transaction. Burika, they will be blessed in their transaction. Wa in katama, and if they hide, katama, to conceal, if they conceal something, wa kadhaba, and they lie, muhiqat, from mim ha qaf, meaning to erase, muhiqat barakatu bay'ihima, the blessings of their transaction will be erased. Muhiqat, they will be erased. Al-ma'na al-ijmali, and this is something you're going to start seeing in this book a lot more, where he talks about the meaning or the general meaning before mentioning the benefits and the rulings. And sometimes he just mentions the general meaning without mentioning benefits and rulings. But here I guess there was a need to explain it a little bit. He says, Ibadallah, O worshippers of Allah, lamma kan al-bay'u, when or since, kan al-bay'u, since buying and selling, qad yaqa'a, it could happen, yaqa'a, from waw, qaf, ayn, yaqa'a is the present tense, it could happen, bila tafakkur, without any, thinking about it, wala tarawwin, and without any forethought, without any deliberation. Someone might get just excited and they want to buy it, or they get excited and they need something right now and they sell it, right? They need money right now or something. So this could happen. Buying and selling, al-bay' قد يقع بلا تفكر ولا تروّن. Buying and selling could take place without much thought and deliberation. فيحصل للبائع أو المشتري, so then it will happen, يحصل, the buyer, the one who is selling, or the mushtari, the one who is buying, al-bay', the one who's selling, al-mushtari, the one who's buying. It could happen that they yahsulu, they reach or achieve nadam. They end up being remorseful, nadam, ala fawati ba'da maqasidihi. They end up being regretful, remorseful, ala fawat, on what was missed, ba'da maqasidihi, some of his goal. So we might have had a goal, and then, but sporadically, or not sporadically, but instantaneously, something happened quick without a lot of thought. The word's escaping my mind in English right now. he does it, but not realizing that he is losing some of what he was trying to do. على فوات بعض مقاصده. Right? He'd be regretful for missing some of what he had really intended by buying or selling. So because of this can happen, جعل الله الشارع الحكيم, the shari', the legislator, meaning Allah Azza wa Jal, al-Hakim, the wise. He made for it, meaning for al-bay', he made for it amadan. He made it a time limit. Amadan, alif mim dal, amadan. He made a time limit. Yatamakkan fihi, that you can make sure, yatamakkan, mim kaf noon, yatamakkan, to make sure, fihi, in it, during this time period, min fasq al-aqd, that you can fasq, you can annul the contract, al-aqd. So he made a time period for you to nullify the aqd. وهذا الأمد, and this time period, هي مدة, it is the length, مجلس العقد, of the sitting of making the contract. While you're making this decision at the cash register, or you're making this decision at the car dealership or the realtor, wherever it might be, as long as these papers are being drawn up and signed and all of this, the person still has this ability to withdraw from it, either the buyer or the seller. And some of this might sound strange if you live, say, in America, and I'm not sure how Europe works, but in America, almost every store has an automatic return policy. I don't think anyone even thinks about the fact that I may not be able to return an item. When you move overseas and you live amongst the Muslims, they live by this hadith. Whereas once you leave, they may not even return it. It doesn't matter if it's a big store or not. They don't have to return it. The customer is not always right. So this shows the wisdom of Ash-Shari al-Hakim, the wise legislator. He made this, and he gave us a time period in which we could back out, whether we're the buyer or the seller. من فوائد وأحكام الحديث, ahadith or hadithain, from the virtues and benefits and rulings of the two hadith. أولا, firstly, إثبات خيار المجلس, establishing the choice of the sitting, the choice of the time for making the contract or making the sale. لكل من البائع والمشتري, for each one, from the seller or the buyer. Either one of them has the khiyar. They can both back out. Imda al-bay', from concluding. Imda, from mim, dad, alif maksura. Here's form 4. The masdar is imda. And here it means to conclude, to execute, or even to sign the contract, to execute the sale. So they have a choice of continuing or not. Thanian, so for example, two people get together, they say, okay, I'll give you $50 for this tomorrow. He takes it, or the guy says, okay, I'll keep it for you until you come tomorrow. And then they leave. The sale is final. You can't come later on and say, yeah, but I decided to change my mind. It's not permissible. You separate it. And you didn't give each other the choice to back out. You have to get that item. It's an obligation for you to purchase that item, or him to sell it to you in case he decided he wanted to change his mind. He realizes he can get more or whatever. Thaniyan, secondly, anil bay', that the transaction yalzimu bitafarruq, it takes place necessarily. Yalzimu, it's necessary. Bitafarruq, it's necessary. This transaction is necessary. It's going to happen. It must happen with the separation of the people. Bi abdanihima, with their bodies. The separation of their bodies, meaning they're no longer in each other's presence. Min majlis al-aqd, when they separate from the sitting of the contract, whether that's the cash register or the table at the bank or car dealer, whatever. Once they separate their bodies from that place, the the transaction, yalzim, will say binding. It's necessary, meaning it's binding. ثالثا, thirdly, حرم العلماء التفرق خشية الفسخ. حرم العلماء, the scholars have made it haram, or stated that it is haram, التفرق, to separate, خشية الفسخ, out of fear that there will be, that the person will annul it. So for one person to hurry up and leave away from the place before the other one has a choice, to rush away. Lemma rawa ahl sunan, due to what the people of the sunan, meaning Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, and Nasai, and Ibn Majah, have narrated, rawa, min an Nabiy sallallahu alaihi wasallam qal, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, wala yahillu lahu, and it's not permissible for him, an yufarriqahu, to separate from him, sahibahu, separate from him, meaning from his companion, the one who's buying and selling with, khashyatan an yastaqilahu, out of fear, an yastaqilahu. This comes from qaf ya lam. This is form 10, that he will sever the contract. So he leaves, he hurry up and runs out and says, no, we separated, out of fear that he will do so. وَلِأَنَّهُ, this is because تَحَيِّلُ, he is trying, he is attempting, تَحَيِّلُ, from ha, waw, lam, form 5, I believe, تَحَيِّلُ لِإِسْقَاط حَقِّ الْغَيْرِ, he is trying or attempting to isqat, from sin qaf ta, here it has to do with dropping or falling. He's attempting to remove, or to fall, to knock off the rights of others. He's attempting to remove the rights of others. So he can't hurry up and run away and say, no, we separated. Rabian, fourthly, أن الصدق في المعاملة, that being truthful in interactions, وبيان ما في السلعة, and clarifying what is in the sil'ah, what is in the merchandise, sil'ah, sin lam ain, clarifying what is in the merchandise, meaning of defects or features. Sababun lil baraka, being truthful in this is a reason for blessings. Fid dunya wal akhirah, in this life and the next. Kama an al ghisha, likewise, just like al ghisha, cheating, wal kadhib, and lying, wal kitman, and concealing information. Sababun muhiq al baraka, is a reason for the barakah being erased, wazawaliha, and it going away, this barakat leaving and not being part of the transaction. هذا والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.